Howdy, friends, and thanks for joining us today. I'm Steve Sanborn, and I am with Neurologic in Kansas City. And joining me today is Erin Brockenshire at Innovative Health in Plymouth, Michigan, one of our fantastic clients who works with us on several different levels for improving brain and neurological health. And today, Erin and I are going to talk about their use of Neuro20, a whole body electromuscle stimulation suit. And we can do a little bit of describing if we need to about that, but it basically looks like a surfer's wetsuit. I always say cuts off at the elbow and the knee, zips up the back, has some really cool, soft and comfortable electrode pads on the inside that are lined with silver, deliver a really good signal to work out 42 different muscle groups. And Erin has been using this with clients at Innovative Health Solutions and getting some really profound results. And that's probably where I stopped sucking the air out of the room, and I let you, Erin, talk a little bit about what you've got going on.
Okay. I did have a slideshow planned, but it was on my MacBook, and unfortunately Apple and Zoom don't want to get involved.
Not
so
today,
I will
anyway.
have to get that to you at some point
Oh,
soon.
that's fine. That's fine. It's good to just talk about it too.
Okay. Yes, I am a personal trainer, and I have a specialization in human movement systems. So while I do work out myself, my passion in helping other people is really to get them back on track in their movement patterns so they can get back to life and do what they want to do. And I had been doing this, and Davis went out to Colorado and was introduced to the Neuro20 suit with my son. And he came home and said, "You got to try this. And I was like, yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. And when I tried the suit on for the first time, my mind was absolutely blown. I have hip dysplasia. I just tend to go out wide. I actually have a hip replacement. And when I put it in the jogging program and went for a run on myself, I guarantee you I had never used my adductors before. And it made me run absolutely perfectly. And I was so sore the next day. And I was like, done, I'm sold. Because if this can correct a movement pattern as janky as mine, imagine what it can do for my clients. Now, I see a lot of disabled people, and I see people who aren't disabled, but everybody I see has some sort of movement impairment, whether it be injury, fall, or surgical, or stroke, and things like that. And what I see happening with all of my clients is it takes the patterning from 12 sessions to about 4.
Wow.
Yeah. And so the suit just is a neurological repatterning at the same time I'm correcting the movements.
Right.
And exponentially faster. It is absolutely amazing to see.
So if I can clarify on that, so the suit delivers kind of at least in one mode, it delivers a kind of consistent electromuscle stimulation pattern, but then Neuro20 also has this sequential firing pattern that follows along lockstep with biomechanical movement. I think I'm describing that pretty well.
Yes.
So I oftentimes explain to people, like if you're on a stationary bike and your legs are pedaling, that the system is firing off at the ham, then the quad, and then the glute, and then the lower back to kind of follow how our body's muscle groups and mechanics work in sequence. And you're getting this impulse of electrical stimulation in each of those areas at just the right time. And so is that how you're using it?
I use the pattern stimulation for walking mainly because my clients coming in, the first step is fixing their feet. They don't walk right. What I find fascinating about the entire system, though, just on either the conditioning or the massage, I rarely use the strength or the cool down. I use the massage setting because it's the lowest frequency for some of my more sensitive clients. I use the conditioning frequency for more experienced athletes. Is the circulation, even though it's short sleeves and short pants, comes all the way down to the feet. And I actually have photographic evidence of this where I turned on the left side and not the right. And this client has neuropathy in their legs, and their legs are constantly purple. But when I turned on the left side, the left foot had complete circulation, went pink. I'm like, can I take a picture
What
of
the
your feet?
heck?
Because that is fascinating to me.
Yes,
So I tend to use the entire programs more often than just the pattern programs. I find the pattern programs are great for my tennis players, football players, anybody who's trying to strengthen or fix a specific movement. But the exercises I do need the entire system to be stemmed in order to correct the pattern.
I see. Okay. And you have, when we met last week in Boulder, you had shared a couple of really interesting, I think they were photos, if I remember, they were short videos, but you have one particular young man who has had some, I think, a fairly rough time of it throughout his young life, but you guys have been using this suit. Can you describe a little bit about just kind of what he's been dealing with and how you've been treating that?
Of course. His name is Wes. He's 33 years old. A decade ago, we're not sure if he had a cardiac arrest or he choked, but he was deceased for 30 minutes.
Yeah,
Paramedics kept pumping until they got him to the hospital, and he was revived 30 minutes later. Now, his father describes right after the injury and right after the revival, his therapy was going great. He was walking, he was talking, he was just improving exponentially. And then about a month later, it just stopped. He cannot talk, he cannot walk. Our theory is he had a stroke because we just don't know what hypoxia in the brain for that long will do to you. And so,
amazed.
yeah, absolutely. And he's a great guy. He's got a great sense of humor, but physically has no idea what's going on in his body. And so his dad came to Davis and I about 8 years into therapy, and I started working with him in the Neuro20, and it's been so productive with him that he has his own system at home. So he works with me once every 2 weeks, and I send them home with exercises, and they follow up they do probably 3 days a week in the suit at home. Then they come with me and we just reassess. Now, what's interesting about Wes is we got him up and walking and moving, but he needs audible cues, like because he's kind of slumped in that sort of stroke pattern. The right side sort of floats,
Yeah,
and what is happening now, because he's been using the suit for a year, even if he's slumped over to the right and I would tell him, hey, your right shoulder's dropped, can you bring it up? And he couldn't. Now he can. Now it's to the point where I just shoot a picture of him, show him the picture, and he'll correct himself.
I
So
see.
last week he does do speech therapy, and they put electrodes on his throat here, and I was present for one of those therapies, and he cannot talk. And just out of curiosity, last week I had him do a lat pull with a band while he was trying to say the word ouch, which is one of the most difficult words to say because you have to pronounce the O, which is ow. So it's a lot of movement in the lips, and then ch, which is also very difficult to say. So he's in the suit, being stemmed, doing a lat pull, and the word ouch came out about like that. Just sitting
Wow.
there, just sitting there being stemmed, can't do it. So
Wow.
there's a connection where Wes needs to be moving to heal, I believe.
Okay.
And the Neuro20 suit, I think, is the key to having those patterns programmed so
Right.
he can somewhat heal himself.
Yes. And I remember now, I know we can't share images or anything right inside the Zoom platform today, but you had something on your phone. I don't know if it's possible to even just put it up to the camera, and take your time with that, because if I remember correctly, you also had a couple of the patients who had some improvement with how they were either walking or how they were approaching or using stairs or steps up and down. Is that another one that I remember?
Yes, I have a lady who her name is Tina, and she cannot go downstairs in a forward motion. She turns and shuffles down this way. And one session,
And
one,
why is that? Does she have some kind of neuropathy or?
no, I believe there's a lot of emotional trauma associated with it.
Okay.
She was a realtor for years. She fell um
Ah,
really badly when she was showing a house once. But even if you release the emotional trauma, there's still that physical patterning. She's been going downstairs sideways for a decade.
okay.
So I had her get in the suit, and she was terrified to just step up on a step platform that was on the ground. So there was no platforms under the step. It was probably 4 inches off the ground. And she was just absolutely terrified. So we just sort of eased our way through it. And she came back to me the next week and she said, I did it. I went down the stairs forward. I can't believe it. I knew when I started to go sideways and I corrected it. And my husband is so excited because I don't look like a cat trying to go down the stairs.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. And of course I'm not a PT or a physical trainer, obviously. I did, I've worked with the platform in different clinical environments or athletic environments, but I do have a couple of at-home users here where I am in Kansas City, and they got, like an MD script to be able to use it at home and treat certain things. And I've got a 78-year-old man here in KC who has had fairly significant neuropathy in his right leg, and as a result, atrophy has set in both legs to a certain extent because he just can't move, or hasn't been able to move in a normal way to keep up normal muscle tone. So we've got him in the suit. We did a few trials, and we even did it in front of his physical trainer. And I mean, as you're experiencing, the changes, the positive changes are almost immediate. And in some cases, they are sort of immediate. One thing that this gentleman was not able to do was a toe raiser, right? So he would need to hold onto a bar standing up and push up so that his heels are coming up off of the ground in that toe raiser fashion, but he couldn't get his heels off the ground at all. Okay, so I did not realize that. We had him in the suit. We actually went to a location with his physical trainer, and he said, "All right, go ahead and do the toe raiser." And that was, of course, with the suit on, and he was able to do halfway up, right? Not a full toe raiser, but halfway. And the PT or the physical trainer was like, "Oh my gosh, he couldn't do that a week ago." When he didn't have the suit on, he had never even heard of the suit yet. And he's like, "Yeah, I tried to get him to do a toe raiser, couldn't do it." And so as a result of the neuropathy, this guy was, walking upstairs, 2 feet at a time
Mhm.
and holding onto a rail. And now he's just walking up steps, one step at a time. And I just saw him yesterday, and he was talking with this group of guys, and he was like, man, telling them how he's gotten better, and just how valuable the suit has been. So anyway, and I know others are seeing this too. We had another trial run that we did with a patient with multiple systems atrophy. So a lot of stiffness and clear changes in gait and step, all this. And they ran just 2 sessions over a 2-day period, short-term stimulation, and it immediately improved his gait. He was walking, and he looked like a normal person just walking, and then they turned it off, and they said, "All right, now let's see if your body is holding that new pattern and that new gait," and it was in 2 days.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't know what the heck this is craziness.
So what I used to do without the suit, and I take for granted that I have the suit, is the same thing. I'd watch somebody walk, I'd walk their gait, I'd watch their gait, and I would say, okay, your lats aren't firing, your upper and your lower body are disconnected, your hips are turned out, your hips are turned in, your knees are firing for blah, 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 blah. And it would take me a good couple months to, okay, so you're going to close one eye, you're going to close the other eye, you're going to do some neurological exercises, let's go back to walking. The Neuro20 suit takes away that sort of physical neurological reprogramming.
Yep.
So I carry eye patches in my room because I need people to be able to cover one eye to exercise and just stimulate one side of the brain, and the other to stimulate the other side of the brain.
Yep.
The Neuro20 suit I don't need that. And
Mm.
so it is a true neurological repatterning with the Neuro20 suit.
Yeah.
And here is the picture of my client with the left side on and the right side off.
Okay.
I don't know if you can see the difference in the coloring of her feet.
Oh my gosh. The left side is on?
Yep,
Oh, but yeah, absolutely. I can see the difference.
yep. And so
Wow.
even though the suit is short pants, it stems all the way down to the toes. My father-in-law has half of his foot amputated, and when I got him in the suit the next day, he said, I feel like I have my toes back.
My gosh. That is
And
crazy.
still to this day, while he's walking, he says, even with the prosthetic in his foot, I feel my toes. So we know amputees have ghost feelings
Yes.
with those limbs. So what the Neuro20 does for amputees is it will fire the nerve like the toes are still there energetically. And the amputee now has more confidence when they're moving forward because there's sensation past the prosthetic.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
That is phenomenal. And
it's
I can personally attest because I use Neuro20 myself twice a week and have for the last 6 or 7 months. And I think, I didn't have any, real issues, right? I'm just using it for a couple different reasons to know the product better, but also just to enhance strength, core strength, etc. And I want to say that at first, I didn't necessarily feel the signal going all the way down to my feet, but I sure feel it now. Every time I put it on, I can tell all the way down to my fingertips, all the way down to my toes. And I don't know if that's a form of improvement for me. Whether there was something going on or not, I wouldn't know, but I know that I wasn't noticing it at first. Now, the other
improves
thing,
circulation.
yep,
So it improves circulation for sure. It drains the lymph. One of the reasons I
great.
use the conditioning rather than the strength that it has that pulsing in between. So if you set like a 30-second stim and then the 30-second rest, that rest will have a pulse. And
Yes,
what that pulse does is all with people that have any sort of bowel sort of issues, I always use the massage setting and I always go really light in the abs because it can cause an
it's probably a smart
evacuation.
move.
Yeah.
Okay, good to know. Note to self.
And everybody's super sensitive in the pecs and in the deltoids. But if you think about the lymph nodes that are associated in this area here,
Yes,
a lot of people are clogged up here. The
yes,
lymph is clogged, and then they'll go home and they're like, I couldn't stop urinating for, a couple hours. And so the kidneys, it flushes the kidneys, it flushes the bowels.
yeah.
Honestly, everybody should be in this
Everybody
too.
should be using this. Yeah. Well, and I mean, I could talk forever about this, just the things that I've experienced, but I don't want to, take up your whole day. But I don't know if you don't mind me taking 1 minute, just from a healing perspective. I had my wisdom teeth out when I was 34, so a while back, which is a little late in the game to have your wisdom teeth out, but that's when they really started to bother me a lot. So anyway, I have them all out. And these ones are good. This one's great. This side, not so good. Off and on for years. Just kind of just felt like it never fully healed. It would kind of just get sensitive and odd, and then it would go away, and then it would come back, and it would do this all the time. But I'm not one to rush off to the doc, so I just kind of let it go. So in the first 8 weeks of using Neuro20, 5 fairly significant chunks of wisdom tooth forced their way out the side of my gum. All right, it's the weirdest thing that's happened in the last 6 months.
That's awesome.
So yeah, so I go to the medical director and I'm like, I know this is going to sound a little weird, but the only thing I'm doing differently is Neuro20. Everything else is the same. He's like, no, it's absolutely the suit causing that because it's really waking up your sympathetic nervous system. So your brain and body connection are stronger, and your body is, noting the fact that, hey, we've got a foreign invader, we've got an object that doesn't belong, and it starts kicking out chunks of tooth, which at this point is totally done. The area is perfect, just like the other side, totally healed, no problems whatsoever. So thank you, Neuro20.
I was at the gym and I was deadlifting and I bulged a lumbar disc.
Hmm.
And I threw on the suit every day on the cool setting because it's more like a 10 setting on the cool setting. Within a week, I was back at the gym. Without that e-stim and everything else I was doing, I was getting chiropractic and acupuncture. I mean, there's a lot, but
Yeah.
honestly, without that e-stim, it wouldn't have provided the circulation needed
Yeah.
to get into that area and heal. And
Yeah.
so it's more than just moving patterns. It is really a healing suit.
Absolutely is.
Mhm.
Yep. Thoroughly agree.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Well, let's take a look at Wes if we can. I really would
Sure.
like to share that with people.
So this is Wes at home walking with a cane.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, Wes came to me last year in a wheelchair.
Okay.
Um, when I got him walking, if I can find that picture where we're going back a year, when I got him walking, it was with a walker and it was arduously slow.
So
Just,
he was was he pretty wheelchair bound?
yeah,
He
yeah,
wasn't walking.
no. And he could sit and stand. Um, but when he stands on his own, he tips.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Most of his symptoms are indicative of a stroke, but
Okay.
I'm not a physician, so I'm
Yeah.
not going to
Yeah. No, we're not diagnosing on
diagnose
that front,
that.
but yeah, we're
But like
making note of
the
what he
right
could
side
and
does
couldn't do.
float, and I'm gonna try to find the video where I first had him walking with a walker, which we're
Yeah.
going back a while. Um, if I can find, I also had a client come in. Her son has been a quadriplegic and malfunctioning since he was 3. And if I can find that video, what was amazing was he's constantly in this position here. And I got him just in the massage setting, just on his upper body. And when it fired, the whole upper body relaxed.
Oh, really?
Hi, buddy.
Is
All
that
right.
right?
Yeah, down you go. I'll be right with you.
That's
I know. I'll be.
that's
I know.
good. He probably wants to get the suit on.
Actually, it's funny. He went to the groomer today, and I'm not sure if she cut his eye. If
Uh-oh.
I could get the dog in the suit, I would put the
Yeah,
dog.
right. No kidding.
Down you go.
That's pretty good.
Let me see if I can find. Okay, we're going back here. No, 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 no. Wes, where are you?
So, yeah, I am really pretty thoroughly convinced on several different fronts, but we've also seen that the suit is fantastic for prehab, rehab around surgery. We spent time with somebody here in Kansas City who had to go in for, I would say something kind of like an ACL type of surgery, 40-some-year-old man. So not like a young teenage athlete or anything, but we
Pretty
did six
young.
to eight sessions prior to the surgery, and the recovery time was much, I think, much faster than what they were expecting. In his case, unfortunately, his schedule didn't allow for the rehab side, but we did sort of prep him for that surgery, you know?
You know what? That's a great idea to get somebody as ready as they can be. When we have orthopedic surgery, the best thing you can do for yourself is be in the absolute best shape you can be in.
Yeah.
So your recovery is quick.
Yep.
Actually, any surgery really. Yeah, so
Absolutely.
that's a
Again, it's
real
just put the thing on. People need to be using this. So yeah,
yeah.
that's just why I wanted to talk more about what you all are experiencing. And and just coming back real quick to the older gentleman here in Kansas City and talking with the medical director about his case. He's like, yeah, well, the neuropathy and the atrophy in one leg is sort of what's obviously causing a lot of his problems, and he's totally offset. But that stimulation that hits the sciatic nerve is sending a signal down both legs where he's getting pretty much equal contractions, right? Where he's not able to perform those contractions on his own. the system forces the muscles in his legs to have pretty much an equal contraction, which explains to a large extent why he was able to do half of a toe raiser. So anyway,
I
really
cannot
good
find
stuff.
that video of Wes, but I do have, so amputee,
Uh-huh.
can walk, not very well. Of course, it's
Yep.
buffering.
No
This was
worries.
4 days in a row in the suit because that's how long he was with us.
Okay.
So you can see he's just getting used to walking with a prosthetic in his foot.
Okay.
On the 4th day, those are 8-pound balls. I don't know if you can, he's bending down, he's scooping, he's walking in a zigzag pattern.
Live.
Yeah.
So, and he's obviously noticing the difference himself because he's looking
Yep.
pretty happy there.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's not a great way to see it because it's on my phone. But for 4 days, he was tired. I mean, I do
Yep.
not recommend anybody to do this
Yeah,
strength
of
session
course.
2 days in a row, but
Yeah,
that's all I had him for. And
got it.
he's the one that can now feel the nerves in his foot, even
That
though
is
he has a
really
prosthetic.
amazing. That really is.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying about the use. I think Neuro20's general recommendation is like twice a week, 20 minutes as a startup. I'm at a point where I'm still doing twice a week, but I'm really doing more like 30 minutes. And I've definitely increased the intensity. And man, climbing steps or just like sit to stand. Not that I felt like I was having difficulty before, but I feel like a robotic machine now. I don't know how to explain it to people. I'm like, I feel like I could just pick my whole body up with one leg.
Yeah, that's what I felt. That's what I feel like when I run in it because my gait is so different. And that is where I found the nuance of what I do. Sometimes patterns don't need to be fixed. If it's
Yeah.
anatomical and that's just the way you are,
Yes.
you might not want to fix.
Yes.
If there's a surgical intervention and the nerves have bypassed a certain region because of that surgical intervention, you don't necessarily want to bring the nerves back firing in the pattern that they used to. So sometimes we need to create compensations, which is also easier to do
Yep.
in the Neuro20 suit
Yeah. Yeah. I
because
hear that.
you'll move them through their new pattern for whatever reason, and then that new pattern will stick. So whether you're trying to correct something or just change something, it's permanent with a Neuro20 suit.
Yes. Yes. Well, this is really great. I really appreciate you sharing this. And obviously, if you have other patients coming along at some point where these types of changes, let's come back together again and talk and do some updates. And just so that anybody watching knows, just in case where they are regionally, if they want to know more about innovative health solutions, can you share some contact information?
Sure. Our office is Innovative Health Solutions. It's in Plymouth, Michigan. The website is innovativehealthdrs.com. My office is Motion Effect, and my website is movewithmotioneffect.com. You can get in touch with us through our websites, our phone numbers, and all of our contact information is there.
That's awesome. Well, I really look forward to doing this again when you have some additional stories and I have some additional stories. And I think what I would like to do, let's do this the next time. We'll see if we can't include Neuro20's PT director as she's been creating new rehab protocols and strength protocols, et cetera. We could talk a little bit about that and share some more of that info with people.
Great.
Awesome. Erin, thanks very much for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a great
You
day.
got it. All right. You too. We'll see you again.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.